One thing that is often brought up is when users have collected a lot of data, they've stored a lot of quotes in the database, that drawing the quote history screen can now take several seconds, even up to a minute, to completely draw when retrieving all the quotes. So in this case, I'm going to click on this on the quote history. I think it's going to take maybe about 16 or 17 seconds to draw this screen. And the reason for that is that I'm going off to the database and I'm retrieving all of the quotes in the database, and in this case I have 1924 quotes that I have saved. I have this sorted by dates. You can see my first one is September 2012, and if I scroll all the way to the bottom here, I can see my last one is in February of 2014. So I have 1900 quotes over 2 years worth of time. But what happens is, as you record that information, it starts to slow down the system. So often a response from a user is, how can I speed it up? Well, there's actually two different ways that you can do this. The first way is to take your current database and make a copy of it. Actually take the physical file on your computer, make a copy of it so you have a backup of what it was like. And then what you can do is, instead of when you go to quote history showing all 1924 quotes, what we can do is we can purge a number of records from the database which we don't think are useful anymore. So in this case, we're going to say we only want all of our quotes from January 1st, 2012, and we're going to go all the way to December 31st, 2012 as well. Or let's actually say 2013. These are all the records that we don't want in our database anymore. And I'm going to say show me all of those quotes, and if I then refresh the screen, it's going to then just retrieve those items from the database. And in this case, once it draws, it's going to show that there are actually 1705 quotes that go from January 1st, 2012 all the way to 2013. And in this case, what I want to do is, I don't really need to see those quotes anymore in my database. You can choose any date range that you want. But anyway, what I'm going to say from that point is I'm going to delete all. And you can see from the tooltip it says delete all displayed quotes in the filtered summary, which means from this database it's going to delete and remove 1705 quotes. Now, these quotes are still available by opening up your backup database. So at any time, if you wanted to go see one of those old quotes, maybe from 2013 or 2012, you can open up that old database and still view that quote. It's still there. And even if you wanted to take that quote from that old database and bring it into the current database, you could use the import-export capability to take a quote from your old database and then import it into your current database. It's a way of kind of, when you start a new year, maybe to remove all those quotes that are ancient, that you're not even going to go back to, and really all they're doing is slowing down the system. So we want to purge those from the database. So in this case, let's say we want to purge 1705 quotes. I would just say delete all. This has you an option right here, a confirmation. Are you sure you want to do this? And we'll even ask you if you want to back up your data prior to doing this, just to make sure that you have a backup of these before you purge them from the system. Because once you click OK, they will be permanently deleted from this current database. So that's one way to do it, is to switch back and forth between multiple databases that have maybe old records that are kind of archived and then newer records. And you can filter those based on whatever date range you want. Another option is, instead of saying I want to see all of my quotes all the time, and it would bring in, if I refresh this again, it's going to redraw the screen. It's going to take several seconds again to bring in all 1924 quotes. But another thing that we can do is, there's kind of a way to limit the number of active quotes when you come into quote history to what is actively set as a filter. And there's actually kind of like a little hidden feature here where you can select and say, I want to see quote date. And you can select, it defaults to the first of this month. I'm actually in February 1st, and today's date is February 25th, so it defaults to the first of this month to the last of this, to today's current day. And in this drop down, usually where you can choose which day of the week or all the days of the week. At the bottom of this list is a choice called today. And if you click today, what's going to happen is every time you come into the quote history, before it draws the screen, the first thing it's going to do is set the end day to today's date and then refresh the list. So in this case, if I were to close this out and redraw the quote history when I come back in, the first thing it's going to do is going to say, okay, well, today is the 25th, so let's send that end date to today, and then let's draw the screen based on that current date range. So now it says, okay, from February 1st to February 25th, which is today, I only have 102 quotes. And as you can see, the screen drew in a lot less time, in maybe like 6 seconds or so, and we still have 102 quotes. Now, what's going to happen is, what the great part of this little today feature is that tomorrow when I come into the Presstimator, it's going to change this to February 26th, and so on as you come on each consecutive day, and this information will stay. So let's say you wanted to see everything from January 1st, 2014 to today, and you leave. Every time you come now into the quote history screen, it's going to start from that start day to today as being the end day and draw the screen. Now it still is not as quick, as it still has to determine those dates out of the database. So in this case it drew 219 quotes, and you can see today's date was set first. So this is another way for you to just kind of say, let me see a range of quotes that actually make sense, instead of every time I come into the screen showing every single one of the quotes that exists in the database. So of those two options, I'm sure you'll find a way to make quote history draw and display much quicker than if you constantly show every single quote every time you enter and exit the quote history screen. So I hope this tip helps, and look for more tips here in the future. Thanks.